Being Real, Week 3, summary. Here it comes. We talked about judging, and the entire time was just on that one topic, so we've pretty much gotten to the point where we're just going to talk about one topic each week. We've figured that out, which is great because we have some really good discussion. We take time, we go to the Word, we discern what's going on from the Word, context and things. It just takes a little bit longer to do it that way, which is absolutely awesome, by the way. But anyway, judging. So we open with discussion as we usually do. Some of the things that were mentioned in discussion were like a movie like the movie Shack and how that movie presented judging, and just how different people, viewed judging. And we're all sinners, that kind of thing. Then we talked about, we kind of backed up a little bit, because the first thing that we did is we went through, as people were talking, they were talking about specific things, like judging a specific act or a person. And I challenged us to back up a little bit and just look at judging in general. And when we started having those discussions, or resetting the discussion to looking at it as a whole, that judging is not good or bad necessarily. And it's not just like a dollar bill doesn't do evil or good. It's what you do with it. But we then talked about, okay, well, judging is just a conclusion, coming to a conclusion. We looked up the definition. Judging is coming to a conclusion about something. Discernment is a way to get there, and the guidance for that. We had that discussion, which was really good. Then we talked about judges. They're judges in courts, and the Bible has a bunch of judges as well. But one of the other things that was interesting is somebody said, oh, there are judges for pie eating contests, and there are judges for this and that. So judging is not a bad thing, per se, if you look at just judging and not look at specific examples. So then, we talked about what's judging versus having a difference of opinion. Is it the same thing? And all that. So we had those discussions and talked about good and evil are to be judged. And then we got into the scripture. And I'll put the scripture up with a black background like I did last time. So I won't go through all of them. They'll be up here on the screen about right now. Okay, so after we reviewed that, the scriptures, and talked about them, one of the big ones that we focused on was Matthew 7, 1 through 6. And the actual heading is judging others. You'll know that because you had gone and read it, because you paused the video and went and looked up all those verses, right? Matthew 7, 1 through 6. And part of that discussion was really good because, the whole discussion was really good, don't get me wrong. But a lot of people just look at 1 through 5, and then the question was raised by someone in the group about, well, 6 doesn't make any sense. It's kind of by itself. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go read 6. It does seem weird. But the person that brought it up said, but why is it in that same place as judging others? So we were able to dig into that a little bit more and look at commentaries, and multiple people read different commentaries that way we had, and looked up different things and really discussed that. And I'm not going to tell you. Go look at 6, and look at that whole Matthew 7, 1 through 6. The whole thing. Read it together. It's meant to be read together. You don't just look at a verse. Look at that again, and then if you have a study Bible, look at the commentary, or look up those different things. But look up 6. Read everything else. Read everything, but 6 is key to really putting things in perspective. Again, you look. So, with all of that, and no, I'm not going to give you all the answers. That's not what this is about. Okay. I will, however, give you the faith and action items that we came up with after all of the discussions, and they'll be up on the screen here Okay, so now I've given you a little bit of what we discussed, some of the concepts. We've given you the scripture verses that we read. That doesn't mean they're all of them. That's just what we really studied and kind of went through last night. And then we talked about context and all that stuff as we were reading scripture. And then when there were questions, and there were multiple times when we were like, what does that really say? As a group, we all kind of like, everybody shared in it and did it. It was great. And the topic, it's kind of interesting because a lot of people are like, oh, we don't want to. I'm like, no, this is great. Like, let's talk. We have to be real, and we have to talk about this stuff. And we brought up examples of things that weren't fun to bring up, but it allowed us to say, well, how should we handle that, and what should it do? And we didn't get as far along in that process in the hour and a half or more that we spent on it, as far as that goes. But we did bring up real topics and real situations and things, and it really just helped people kind of understand. And I think everybody walked away with some good stuff there. So one of the things as we were talking about judging that became very clear, and I stated it more than once, is you start thinking it's one thing, but it's really something different. And the Bible calls this, the Bible gives us a lot of information about it, and how you read it and interpret it, and what you look at and how you look at it as a whole changes. And when I say changes, it changes you, is what what we're looking at there, and how you view things. And judging, there are so many layers to it. And I said that more than once last night. I said that there are a lot of layers to this. We can't just look at one. And then others are like, yeah, it's easy to talk about that, but what about this? And we tend to do this. So really good discussions. Got into quite a few things, but thank you for watching. Hopefully the scriptures and some of the faith in action items resonate with you, and you go looking for this stuff and try to apply some of it in your life. And I know it's helped some people in the room, and we're just sharing it with you so that hopefully it helps you. Thanks for watching.